What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today is Saturday. Awesome to have you back on the channel. Pleasure to see you here today. Also, I'm excited to be back in the studio. Yesterday, I couldn't put out a video. You have no idea how much I hate when I can't put a video out. There's just so much stuff I want to go over today. But, obviously, I come back from, my little trip, and this is what the markets look like. So we're going to talk about that. As you guys know, I was in San Francisco for the event. If you're interested, I have plenty to talk about that later. But currently, for everyone that's here for what happened this morning, well, it looks like we put in a little Bart Simpson right here. We went up, got the hair, fell. So we touched around 9,330. Currently, we're back up to 9,432. So I do want to get into the price, obviously, because it does look like as we continue to, hit these lows, we're probably going to end up hitting some of these key targets we've been talking about. I do want to talk about that. I want to discuss what happened at the event. I actually did have an opportunity to meet Justin Sun. I'll let you know about that if you guys are interested. And I have an exclusive clip too of the lunch that I'll show you. And one other thing though that was a little bit serious was this came out right here. You can see the IRS, it says the Internal Revenue Service has begun sending letters to taxpayers with virtual currency transactions that potentially failed to report income and pay the resulting tax from virtual currency transactions or did not report their transactions properly. So I know that these aren't exactly exciting things to talk about on the channel, but I do want to discuss that because they're sending out 3 different letters right now and, it could affect you, especially if you're in the US. So we're going to talk about that moving forward, but let's talk about price right now because $88.9 million worth of liquidated longs. That's not a good way to wake up today if that was your morning. But that being said, having a look at what's going on here, we did lose about $3 billion this morning. Bitcoin dominance, interestingly enough, is still pulling back from 64.5 to 64.4. Not very much, but where's the money going? Well, I would assume probably stable coins, at this point. Maybe they're worried it's dropping lower. Some people might be speculating on some of the altcoins. We have Japan content up again, Basic Attention Token, ABBC, Bytecoin, V Systems, Maximine, Insight Chain barely. But really after that, it's basically just stable coins and then it's losses. So it's a red day in crypto today, but it doesn't mean that we have to get upset. It's just a better opportunity to dollar cost average, right? So you could see that we had this parabolic advance that we had started way back here on April 1st. Now we are below this line. Clearly. Now, we have fallen below it before. We did back here July 17th, and then we came back above it. So, the question is, are we going to go lower? Well, that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the fact that you could see we're actually sitting below the entire EMA ribbon, on the daily. So are we going to end up getting supported by the absolute bottom band? That's a possibility. And you could see we're nowhere near this blue zone I had been looking at. So I wanted to see, us get back above 10,000, almost 10,700 for that short-term bullish momentum action, but that didn't happen. So, obviously the trend, which is still overall our friend up, but currently short term, we are having a bit of a pullback right here. Now, you can notice that there is this sort of, we had support that became resistance, that became support, that became resistance, right? That's usually what happens. And currently we're being supported by this trend that started back here on June 4th, but I'm not too sure how strong this one is, to be completely honest with you, because we still have a lot of downward selling pressure. A lot of people made a lot of money up here at the top. Not the top of all time, but we had that $14,000 Bitcoin, right? We had seen Bitcoin all the way down at 3,100. A lot of people just took profits. So this is still that selling pressure. We could still see these levels, 8,500 to close out the CME gap, right? Absolute low, maybe down to around 8,000, because you can see right here, we had a lot of resistance back in the day, starting around May 13th. So as you guys know, previous resistance tends to be future support, right? So that's a level that we're looking at. Now, do we have to go down to 8,000? Not necessarily, but you'll notice that it's almost like everything on the charts right now is showing downwards trends. If we take these 2 peaks right here and these 3 times that we touched, well, you can see this giant purple downwards, sort of trend that we're following. But now short term, we've actually put in a downwards, a descending broadening wedge. And I did that with the green right here. And we're being supported by this middle trend. But having a look at this, it does show that if we don't break above this, if we don't break above this resistance right here, or even get above this sort of purple resistance that was holding us down initially, then we are looking to go to those levels of 8,500 or even 8,000, right? Unfortunately, you can look over here and sort of see the differences of where the resistances and the supports have been put in. Now, just for you guys, if you've never seen this before, the longer the line is, the more chance that it'll act as support or resistance, right? Because it's more of an extreme. And you can see right here, this is the biggest one. And this is unfortunately down at around the $8,000 level, right? So this is just something else I wanted to point out. Currently looking at where we're sitting, the next support would be around 9,390, which is interesting because over on Bybit, we pretty much wicked to, it was 330. So we were off by, not that much. It was not that much we were off by. So that's still something to keep in mind. But I want to talk about the positives here because, as you know, this trend that's been running all the way back, we've had this trend forever up here. But you could see currently that, if we were to fall straight down at this point, that's only showing an $8,300 Bitcoin. Now, I'm not saying that we have to stay above it, right? But what I am saying is that when we go into bull trends, we do not fall below this. But the thing is, we actually may be doing more of a slow accumulation period. We may be doing something more like this right now, whereas, we might just be sort of teetering on the line, right? But I want to zoom out and show you guys something real quick. Now, I do want to talk about the trend. I do want to talk about the fact that I don't think this is doom and gloom. I do think that pullbacks are healthy, and honestly, they're excellent opportunities to dollar cost average for people that want to own more Bitcoin. So understand that this is always a long game, but having a look at this right here, the super guppy chart, right? Everybody's favorite. You can see right here, we just started turning green. And I've talked about how on the channel before, once we start going green, we pretty much stay green for a long time. As you can see right here, once we put in this green right here back around January of 2016, it stayed green all the way until about June of 2018, right? But here's the thing. Here's what I want to show you. Why we need to really zoom out and have a look, because what we're looking at right here may not be as extreme as you think it is. And let me show you why. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the super guppy off real quick. And what I want to do is I want to switch to the Heiken Ashi candles. They're the ones that work better with the market cipher. You see how this kind of paints a much smoother picture, right? You sort of have a better visualization of the markets now. It's not so choppy looking. It shows you the green going into the red. It's a lot easier on the eyes. So what I really want you to focus on right now is notice that basically starting back here from about February, the week of February 11th, we had put in nothing but green candles on the weekly for the Heiken Ashi. So you can understand that this was an extremely bullish trend. Now, currently, we only have 2 red weekly candles, right? So instead of looking at this as, oh my God, doom and gloom, this is the end, we're going down, this may actually just be one of those very small corrections that you get in a gigantic bull run. And let me show you, for example, so what we're looking at right here, right? If we go back to, 2017, maybe we're just putting in something like this, right? Where you just have a nice little correction, right? Or just something down here. And I know what you're saying, it doesn't look as extreme, but it's only because of the scale that we're looking at it in, because as you get those higher highs, those last, the last ones that you had, they get smaller and smaller, right? Like even if you look at the previous all-time highs now, on the chart, they look so small, but at the time, it probably felt like doom and gloom, right? So I would assume that we might just be putting in another one of these. And like you can see right here, right? So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of green, and then we had 2 weeks of a red candle. And from the top down to the bottom, we put in about a 40% drop, right? So why is it not uncommon for us to think that we might be doing the same thing here as well, which is actually what I do think we're doing. So once again, going over here, just to show you guys how possible this would be if we were to go from the top, and come down here to about a 40%, well, that would put us at around $8,335, which if we went back to our trend right here, shows us about 8,200, 8,300. So, it's kind of like everything's just playing in. It's just acting exactly how I feel like it should be. So for everybody that's freaking out there, please don't freak out. So let's talk about what's going on. I want to talk about people saying that, the retail's not coming in, that, institutional, whatever. Let's get to the bottom of this. So Mike Novogratz, you guys know Mike Novogratz, right? He is over at Galaxy Digital. So I would think he knows what investors are asking about, right? And he's talking about the price, going up in Bitcoin. So first he goes, it went up because of China's trade war. It went up because we've got political instability all over the world. It went up because people started talking about easing rates again. And the debasement of fiat currency, that argument got involved as well. And then obviously Facebook. But he says, I've got all the major companies saying this is important. So there's some skeptics out there, but the probability of this really working has gone limit up. And, he does say, I think it was up here somewhere, that there is a lot of interest from investors. Scrolling down, he's also talking about an $8,500 level. He thinks that that'll hold. He says, I'm hoping it doesn't go down there, but if it does, it wouldn't surprise me. And then as the institutions that have gotten excited about this, once they see this, they realize it may be a good entry point. And then he does think we're going to push to 20K and higher. In fact, on this channel, we have a really bullish target of about 42K to 46K. We'll see if it plays out. But that being said, he says 8,500, that's the bottom.
But Mr. Novogratz, we have
Speaking of institutional and retail investors coming into the space, you could see over here this article from Being Crypto points out the fact that Grayscale Investments recently discovered that about a third, or roughly 36% of all US investors are in fact not only interested in Bitcoin, but they're currently picking it up as we speak. Even though the price right now is a little bit uncertain, the interest is definitely growing, right? They say despite the growth in price and institutional interest, however, retail participation in the market has stayed relatively stagnant, or at least that's what they're saying. I'm going to show you something in just a sec. They say that this likely indicates that we are still in the accumulation period before the next leg up, which is a blessing. Trust me, you don't want to be in the parabolic period where you just can't do anything and the price is just going higher and higher, right? So they say there's reason to believe, however, that the first wave of fresh blood into the cryptocurrency market may actually come from gold investors. In fact, according to surveys conducted, many investors who like Bitcoin also like gold. There's been significant overlap since Bitcoin investors mostly see gold as a low-risk asset. But having a look over here, look at what you're seeing and check this out, right? So you're seeing the Bank of China. They released on their website, there was an infographic, which this is what it looked, you can see right here, but obviously I can't read it. So it's summarized. And basically what they were saying in it was they were talking about the starting of Bitcoin, the white paper in 2008, the mining of the first Bitcoin, 10,000 Bitcoin being spent on pizza. They went into Libra. And then part of it is actually dedicated to talking about why Bitcoin's value is increasing. It talks about limited supply, increased mining difficulty, that it's used as a medium of exchange and anti-inflationary safe haven. And this is also even echoed by Anthony Pompliano as well, because he was saying that the European central banks expect a dovish turn will provide, and he says, rocket fuel for Bitcoin. But let me show you right here. If we have a look, you could see Coinbase now has over 30 million users. Now, these 30 million users have been acquired since they launched in 2012. Well, as you can see by the title, they had 8 million users in just the past year. So in just the past year, we've had 8 million out of 30. So that's pretty incredible, right? That's about 26% of all of their users have joined in just the past year. That's mostly retail, right? So that's why I would say that to say retail's not coming in is not true. You can also see right here, Square Cash App, their stock is up 56%. Oh, by the way, they're also doing a giveaway for $50,000 in Bitcoin if you're interested. But, I think that you're definitely seeing that interest. And, oh, wow, Justin Sun was in here too. We're going to get to that in just a second. But yeah, so long story short, I think that what people tend to overlook is that you have a lot of people in the West that maybe say, Bitcoin's not necessary, or I don't understand Bitcoin, or why would I need that, right? But you really have to realize the revolutionary nature of Bitcoin, and who better to explain it than Andreas Antonolpolous himself. And I wanted to play this real quick because it's fun to look at price and speculate and this and that and regulation, but the reality is Bitcoin will never be killed. These guys know that, right? And also you have to realize what it actually does and the value that it can bring to so many people globally. But let me stop talking and let me hand it over to my buddy, Andreas Antonolpolous.
If it's not useful to you, that doesn't mean it's not useful. It just means you, in that particular domain, are privileged. When you hear Warren Buffett say, I don't need crypto, of course you don't need crypto. You're a white-haired old man with billions of dollars. Have you been denied banking services? Unlikely. Jamie Dimon, I see no use for crypto. Of course you don't see any use for crypto. You haven't met a single person in your life who's not a millionaire. You ask these people to talk about their life. One of them recently said that they think you need ID to buy things at a supermarket. They were talking about how we should introduce ID at voting. Do you know why? They've never been to a fucking supermarket. Their butler does that. Right? I've met people who have been stranded by the side of the road because their cars were refueled by the staff and they didn't know what the little orange light was. And when the car stopped working, they didn't know how to put gas in it. Not 15-year-olds, 30-year-olds, right? So when you say, I don't need this technology, what you're saying is, my life already has this in it, and that's why I don't need it. But think about the people who do need that.
Honestly, couldn't have said it better myself, and you got to admit, the man makes some points. If you guys don't follow Andreas Antonolpolous yet on YouTube, you have to follow this guy. He's one of the most intelligent, respected members of the community, and if you're a new person to crypto and you want to really understand the basics of it, this is definitely your jump off point. Okay, so shout out to Andreas Antonopoulos, definitely awesome. But speaking of white haired old men who don't understand cryptocurrency, no, not Justin's son, Warren Buffett. So you can see right here over on CoinDesk, they said too sick for Buffett lunch. Justin's son attends TRONfulencer party in San Francisco. This is actually a post from BitBoy over here with CryptoWendyO as well, Altcoin Daily in the back. So I was there at the event. He wasn't there that long though. It wasn't like Justin stayed. He literally showed up for like a half hour. And honestly, he really didn't seem like well. Like he was very like kind of quiet and really didn't, like, I don't know. So I think the guy genuinely is sick. I'm not trying to say he's faking it, not faking it, but I mean, he genuinely didn't seem that well, okay? So I will say that, in his defense. I actually had an opportunity to take a picture with him. I look like a zombie in this picture because I only had like 3 hours worth of sleep that day. It was crazy. Got like no sleep. But if you guys want, there is this interview that WendyO did with Justin's son. Unfortunately, it's really short. Like I said, Justin really wasn't at the event for that long, but we did get an opportunity to talk with his manager guy, the PR community manager, Cliff. So check those out. There's definitely interviews circulating. I know Wendy has one. But before we do that, I just wanted to show you a really funny thing. So as you know, we got to eat at the restaurant. Actually, this is right here. This is the menu. I don't know if you guys could see this. Let me try to put it to the screen. It might be blurry, but can you guys, is it focusing? Not really. No, not really. Well, anyway, so this is the menu right here. And essentially, it was like really, really fancy. And, all the portions, the food was like this big. And I don't really understand how rich people can eat this because I left hungry. Like I literally left the lunch and was still hungry. And I think most people would agree. But I want to show you this one funny clip I actually took of them putting actual black truffles, shredding them on BitBoy's food. So just for fun, this is just one quick shot of one of the things we did.
Porcini in the pasta as well, and we're finishing with the black truffles.
Thank you. So like I said, there really wasn't a lot to report on. I mean, yeah, we got to eat a lunch. Justin's son was only around for about a half hour, but definitely check out the interview on CryptoWendyO's channel if you want, that she did with Cliff and Justin. So moving on, speaking of things that are accused of stealing structural design from other coins, well, let's talk about Libra. So essentially that is the situation, but what's funny is the FTC has actually imposed a $5 billion penalty on Facebook for violating the privacy of its consumers. Now, this may not be directly crypto related, but I feel like because, Libra's coming out on the scene, kind of is, right? They say the commission is penalizing Facebook for misrepresenting the privacy of its users' personal information. On the same day, the FTC also filed an administrative complaint against data analytics firm Cambridge Analytica, alleging the use of deceptive tactics to collect user information for voter profiling and targeting. So yeah, trust me, Libra's gonna know everything that you're doing. Like Facebook, like anything that you're buying with that money, they're gonna know everything. You can bet. And I wouldn't be surprised if people's accounts get frozen, but we'll have to see moving forward. So speaking of this, I briefly went over this in the beginning of the video. So the IRS is starting to send out letters to people who own virtual currencies. This person over on Reddit was kind enough to break it down. So there's 3 letters that are going around right now. The 3 letters are, it's 6174, there's 1-A, and then there's 6173. So essentially the first one means that they know you have crypto. And that's it. No big deal. They just know. The second letter that they're sending out basically says that they think you broke the law and you haven't paid your taxes and may or may not start enforcement actions on you soon. And the last letter, which is the 6173, that's the one that means that you broke the law and they're coming after you. So I hope nobody got the last one. But yeah, don't freak out if you get a thing in the mail. Obviously, guys, I love to talk about decentralization, being your own bank, doing this. But let's be honest, guys. If you're a U.S. citizen, you have to pay your taxes. It's just the way it is, right? So don't be doing anything crazy with crypto. Don't be doing anything illegal. And honestly, if you're holding Bitcoin, it is traceable, so just please know that, okay? But yeah, this is going out. I wanted to let you guys know that, be safe and obviously do the right thing. So that being said, speaking of someone who didn't, we have William Green. He's 46 years old. He's been charged with the count of operating an unlicensed business, and it looks like he could be doing up to 5 years in jail over this, essentially. In prison. According to the documents filled, it says that Green's business was called Destination Bitcoin, and it was a website that allowed him to convert customers' fiat deposits into Bitcoin for an exchange fee. But, obviously he was an unlicensed money transmitter. So this is sort of what happened, I think, with Charlie Shrem back in the day, right? So yeah, obviously, guys, don't do illegal things with Bitcoin. But let's not end on a bad note. Let's end on a good note. So, do you guys know Pocketful of Quarters? It's a 12-year-old kid, and he came up with this concept, like, quarters for video games. Imagine you go to an arcade and you get tokens, or you guys ever been to like Chuck E. Cheese as a kid or something like that? You get those tokens, right? So basically, he was like, why don't we build a universal like game token, right? And it's really cool because it's become the first Ethereum token to receive regulatory approval from the SEC. Pocketful of Quarters received a no action letter from the SEC, which means that it will not be recommended for enforcement action. So the Quarters token is not meant for trading. In fact, you can't even get it on an exchange. None of the earnings generated from token sales go into development. Instead, the token will be purely used for utility. So pretty cool news. And also, the dude's 12 years old. That's pretty cool. So congratulations. And yeah, guys, before we go, this is from a lot of money on Twitter, DYOR shitcoin bag, right? So once again, guys, be careful. There's definitely some regulation, and I definitely feel that a lot of these tokens are going to be securities, okay? There's going to be a lot of regulation coming out soon, and I would just be careful with the tokens that you're holding. I think this year it's going to be more about Bitcoin, the higher caps, ones that have real massive utility, and a lot of those speculative ones, they're probably just going to go to the wayside. So that being said, guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Once again, if you stayed to the end and you didn't subscribe, what are you waiting for? Literally every single day. Thank you so much. You rock. Sorry this was blurry when I tried to show it before. Oh, I did get a cool TRON token too. That's probably blurry. It's got the little TRON symbol on it. So it was a good time, guys. But ultimately, I'm really happy to be back. Awesome to be back in the studio. Let's have a quick look at Bitcoin before we 9,004. Yeah, so it looks like we chilled for now, but yeah, we're going to keep our eyes on it, guys. Like I said, 8,500, 8,000, we're looking for those levels. There may be a chance that smart money just says screw it and puts in a buy at like 8,788. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. When we get to that point, we'll have a better idea, but right now, we're just going to keep looking at what's in front of us. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I really appreciate it. You guys rock. I freaking love you. You're the reason that I do this every single day. Thank you.